delighted to have Mr. Gourab Kumar Agarwal for the third episode of the HNLU Alumni Connect Interview Series. He is an esteemed alumnus from the batch of 2022 with us today, having secured an impressive All India rank of 86 in the Civil Service Examination and now is serving as an Indian Forest Service officer. Today, we hope to discuss with your journey of being an HNLU student to joining the foreign services. I would also like to mention that before we announced that we're doing this interview, we asked to students to give in their questions to sort of understand what they want to know from you, and we received an overwhelming response. We've incorporated these questions today in the interview. I hope that all the students' queries will be answered, and yeah. So the first part of the interview, we want to start by discussing and understanding the journey of you when you were a student in HNLU and how you made the decision of switching over to a different aspect of the field and maybe leaving behind law. So with the first question, I would want to ask you, what motivated you to choose the civil services over a traditional legal career or judiciary, especially when most of your batchmates were pursuing corporate or litigation?
So I don't think there's any straightforward answer as to like why did I go for civil services instead of like the corporate law or judiciary or per se. But I think around my third year, before my third year, I did not have any idea about civil services. I was like, I want to go for arbitration and all of those things. But somewhere around third year, I started to like explore what civil services is, like what does it entail and all of those things. And I realized like the syllabus part of it just was very interesting to know about a lot of things which I didn't know about. And to be honest, I really don't think civil services is like completely different from something like a legal career, because what you do in civil services is basically like policy planning and policy implementation and you're part of the executive, which involves a day-to-day involvement with law. So I won't say like civil services is like completely different thing from a legal. I think civil services is just is also a part of like potential career after study of law. So yeah, and like in college, I think after third year or something, like around fourth year or something, I realized I should try once, like at least once or twice I should give it a try. And if it doesn't work out, I'll see. But like because the entire process was very interesting to me. I mean, like the mains part of it, the syllabus part of it, and also you had the study. You could continue with law because you had law as an optional subject in that. So you're not completely leaving behind law when you're starting to prepare for civil services. And like general studies has GS2 paper, which also involves a lot of law, and we study constitution, and polity is a big part of civil services. So I was not thinking of in the lines ki, I'm leaving behind legal career as such. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So was it like a gradual shift or more of a defining moment when you decide to like make over the shift?
No, I think it was like it was a gradual shift. It was not a defining moment. I don't think there is anything called as a defining moment. From my third year onwards, I had started to read about civil services, what is there. But at the same time, I kept doing the moots and I tried doing the moots as well. But by the end of fourth year, I realized I need 1 year, proper 1 year preparation. And so in between my third year and the fourth year, that was a transition period as to like making a decision as to what I want to do after that. So till third year, I was like, I'll try everything. I'll go for a corporate law internship. I'll do a litigation internship. I'll try to do for a think tank internship, and I'll see what is there, everything. And between the third year and the fourth year, through the fourth year period entirely, I just started to think about what can I do. And I had it in the back of my mind that I want to do civil services, but by the end of fourth year, I started preparing seriously for it. So there was no defining moment. There was a gradual process. I kept thinking, I kept talking to my people, my friends, my parents and all, and I got a lot of positive motivation from them. So yeah, can be given, can be tried.
Right, sir. Secondly, I would want to ask you, many law students in law schools face peer pressure to pursue placements and internships in corporate law. Did you ever feel this pressure, and how did you navigate through it while staying committed to your goal?
I mean, I did. I will not lie. I will not say I did not feel pressurized. That I should also say. I mean, like they were. I remember LKS had come for placements and AZB had come for placements, and my friends were sitting for placement. And I used to sit in the library and I was preparing for civils, and I was like, should I also give my name to the RCC to like try it out? And then my friends got placed also, and that also hits you like everybody is getting placed. यहाँ पे मैं तैयारी करे जा रहा हूँ, everybody is getting placed. But I think it is a good motivation also. You see your friends excelling, and you are like, you have this urge like they have done their part. Now it's my turn to do my part, and I will also like that is, I think I took it as a motivation ki if they can do so well, they are doing so well. I mean, I should also put my heart and mind into it and try to achieve what I have planned to do. They had a plan. They wanted a corporate job. They worked for their plan and they got it. So maybe I should also like get down to it. But I won't say that there were no moments where I used to feel ki oh मेरे को फर्क नहीं पड़ता and all of those. It used to hit you कि everybody is getting placed. What are you doing? But you have to take it in a positive stride. You can't feel ki oh what am I doing with my life? They achieved what they had planned for, and you have taken a decision to prepare for civils. So you take that as a positive motivation and work for achieving it. Like
Right.
overall, but I won't say like I did not feel completely like I was completely aloof and completely isolated from all the reactions around me.
Yes, I think from the questions that we got, I think a major sentiment that we could gauge is this sort of peer pressure that students feel, especially like right now because of how much the corporate culture has penetrated in law college. So
I mean, yeah, there is peer pressure, but the question that you have to ask yourself is, what are you really interested in? If people are doing corporate and because of that you jump into the bandwagon and go for कि मेरे को भी corporate करना है, that won't work out, because if your interest does not lie there, then what is the point? What is the point of like trying to achieve something which is where your heart does not entirely lie? So like take your college life, take your 4 years and 5 years, like 3-4 years, and try to decide like what is your priority, where does your interest lie, and then accordingly decide ki what should I go for. Don't go for peer pressure, because it won't work out. Everybody is an individual in themselves. Like everybody is doing what suits them. So don't be like कि बाकी कर रहे हैं तो मैं भी यही करूँगा. That's what I would say. Yeah.
that actually brings me to my next question, that if not the civil services, what would have been your plan B, and how did you factor in the unpredictable nature of the exam while making this career decision?
So I had decided I was really interested in litigation. I really wanted to go for litigation, and I had given myself ki I'll write 2 attempts. I mean, in retrospect, it's easy for me to say ki I'll write 2 attempts, and if I don't clear it in 2 attempts, I'll go for litigation. Because once you get into this cycle, it becomes very hard to get out of it. That is there. But during the entire like 2 years of preparation, I did not think of it as a plan B kind of thing where I'm like trying for a corporate job also, and in the meantime preparing for civil services also. I did not do that. If I'm preparing for civil services, then completely I was preparing for civil services. But I had given myself a limit of 2 attempts. I do not want to sit for more than 2 attempts. But those 2 attempts I will write like my life depends on it. I mean, like I do not want to miss out on any aspect of it. I do not want to take any attempt lightly. I will not say कि the first attempt तो है ऐसे ही दे देते हैं. I will write the 2 attempts with like complete dedication. And still, if it doesn't work out, then I'll go for litigation. I mean, at that point, I was like in 2 minds. Like I'll go for litigation or I'll go for MBA. But I was like strongly aligned towards litigation. If I could not have cleared after my second attempt, I had done my bar council registrations and everything. कि अब results आने वाले नहीं होगा, दिल्ली जाना, find something to do.
Right, so I think that is the most wise thing that a student should take into consideration. So for the next section of the interview, we want to focus on the main sort of question that everyone had, was how would one go about the preparation strategy, and how do you balance law school and preparing for such a huge examination? So can you walk us through your preparation strategy? How did you approach the different stages of the exam, the prelims, mains, and the interview? And I'm sure you've been asked this question multiple times and you're answering this question.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very broad question in the sense that how, like, I won't go into the interview part of it right now. I'll just talk about what I did, and I don't think I can give any valuable gyan which everybody can follow. Everybody has to decide their own kind of a structure of preparation and all of those things. I'll tell what I did. So in my 5th year, I decided I'll start preparing. 4th year end, I mean, like the 4th year ended and we went home in April. I think we go home in April or May or something like that. And then then onwards, I started preparing for civil services. Now, what I did was I bought all the standard books for all the subjects. For example, if you have modern history, you have a book called Spectrum. If you have geography, you do 11, 12 NCRT. And the first part of the preparation was just read through everything to get a sense of like, what is this exam? What is this subject? I mean, like, you need to understand what is the stuff you're dealing with. So the first round of studies was just going through every book and then realizing what kind of a book requires what kind of a strategy to understand it completely. For example, if it is a modern history, then it requires me to make notes so that I can memorize it better. But if it is a geography, I don't need to make notes because it's more like a subjective ideas where you need to just understand the concepts. If you understand the concepts well, then you don't need to memorize anything. You can just write everything, and you can deduce the answers around the questions. But for polity, history, you need to take some time out to memorize the stuff. So every subject has its own kind of a strategy associated to it. So after I did this 2 or 3 times, like I had read every book for like couple of times and 3 times, then I wrote subjective prelims tests to get an idea whether my preparation is going in the right direction or not. So I wrote subject-wise mock exams. Then I realized in some subjects I'm doing decently well. In some subjects I'm not getting any output out of it. So then, for example, in my environment preparation, I realized I'm not scoring marks at all because the book that I selected was completely wrong. So then I changed the book that I was doing. So broadly, if I say, the first part of my preparation was just understanding how to go about things. Once I had a sense which book suits me, are my notes prepared or not, then I went into a deep dive for prelims, like what I need to do. For prelims, I dedicatedly took out 3 months, 4 months only for prelims because people don't take prelims very seriously, but prelims is one of the toughest part to clear in civil service. And if you don't clear prelims, it's a big setback for you. You're like, I spent 1 year doing this and I could not clear prelims. So for me, it was like mains dekha jayega. I will try to do mains, nikal jayega. Mains baad mein dekhenge. Pehle prelims nikalna. So first half of the preparation is, there's no division between prelims and mains. You just do the basic books and prepare yourself for all the notes and all. But before 4 months before prelims, I started preparing for prelims very seriously. Before 2 months before prelims, I started giving mock tests every day. So for my first attempt, I must have given like 50, 60 mocks. And that was every day. 1 mock test every day and then analyze the mock test. So first part was like, I need to clear prelims. Once the prelims was cleared, then I think like you have like 2.5 months like for mains. And that time I realized law. So for me, what happened was I wrote the first attempt in 2020. And because of COVID, the exams schedule got extended. So the prelim that was supposed to happen in April or May happened in September. So since I had already prepared for prelims by the time April came, then I had like 3 months of extra time. So in those 2 months, I started preparing for mains as well. So I had done like optional subjects and all of those things. So after prelims, when I started for mains, then and because most of the subjects in prelims and the mains are like the same subject, so you don't need to do completely new things. There are few areas where you need to start doing something new. For example, in society ho gaya, ya disaster reduction ho gaya, ya environment ho gaya. There it might take some other efforts. That I did after prelims. But my main advice to everybody is focus on prelims. Prelims nahi nikalta. It's as simple as that. Just put your life to clearing prelims. Once you clear prelims, then you get an understanding कि अच्छा हाँ prelims निकलने के बाद mains के लिए क्या करना है. But don't go with the idea कि सिर्फ mains के बारे में सोचना है. Prelims के लिए 1 महीने पहले सोचेंगे निकल जाएगा, नहीं निकलेगा.
Okay, sir. True, that makes sense. So you said that you started preparing in your 4th year. So how were you able to? Okay, 5th year. So how were you able to like meet the demands of like law school assignments or exams in 4th and 5th year while preparing for the examination?
I mean, for 5th year, I had a very regimented schedule every day. So I'll wake up, I'll go through the newspaper quickly, then I'll go to the class, and then in class, if the class is not, I should not say interesting, but like if the class is not up to my level of attention grabbing, then I will read the newspaper. I'll try to finish the newspaper during the classes itself. In between the periods, I'll go through the newspaper. And after the classes, I'll attend all the classes, and then I'll go to the library. I used to go to the library. So around 3 o'clock, I used to go to the library and I used to sit there for 5:30, and then go hang out with the friends for half an hour or so, and then again sit for 6:30 to 8:30, go have lunch and dinner, and then go back to the library from 9:30 to 12:30 or something like that. So I had like this daily schedule, and I had broken down my preparation strategies into what I need to achieve by the end of this week, how much time do I need to dedicate for this subject, and I will try to achieve it within those time period. So I used to do the exams, and before exams, like for example, if it is a midterm or an end term, like for midterm, before 2-3 days before the midterm starts, I will stop preparing for civils and I will just get into the exam mode. कि exam के लिए तैयारी करना है, and same for the end terms. But most of the time, my focus was on exam only, civils. So yeah, that's how I structured it.
And did you have to sacrifice your extracurricular activities, or were you able to meet a balance between the both of them?
I mean, it depends on like what do you call extracurricular. Because if you talk about moods or papers and all, then 5th year I did not do any moods or anything like that, because I did not think I have the I had the mental space or the time to give for a mood competition. But if you're talking about like Colossus or other cultural festivals, then I took part. I did not take part per se, but I attended everything and then did some quizzes and all. Yeah, 5th year I did quizzes quite regularly, but I won't say I completely stopped everything. I just did not do academic extracurriculars like moods or papers and all, because it requires a lot of time and attention, which I did not have. But I definitely used to like attend Colossus and whatever else was happening in college at that time.
Right. So looking back, what were your biggest mistakes that you made in the first attempt, and how did you refine your strategy in the subsequent one?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think after my first attempt, I had cleared mains in my first attempt. I had given the interview, but when the marks came out for mains, I realized like the marks in mains were very low. So I just cleared the cutoff by like barest to bare margins. So after the second prelims, after I cleared the second prelims, I just went back to the basics. And this time, what I did can sound thoda sa radical. So when you start preparing for civils, everybody tells you there's a particular format of preparing for mains. For example, if you're writing an answer, you need to have an introduction, you need to have a body, you need to have a conclusion, where you give a lot of examples for every argument that you're making. Better to write it in point wise and all of those things. But for my second attempt, I realized this is, for me particularly, this does not make sense. Because my priority is to answer the question. And if the question does not demand a particular format, for example, an introduction, conclusion, or a body or a point-wise format, then I will not follow it. Also, what I did was I went through the syllabus very finely, very minutely. And for example, if you're looking at the GS2 paper, and if there is a particular topic about development, I'm not exactly sure, but like something called as development models of the country. So before I jumped into any material on development models, I will just write development models on a piece of paper and just brainstorm as to what is the development model. So like, what are the different kinds of development model? You have a welfare development model, where you have a laissez-faire development model, and all of those things. So I'll just try to brainstorm myself to get a better understanding of what this word development model basically means. And then maybe I'll try to like go through the website to get better knowledge about all the things. Also, what I did was I realized, for example, if like taking example of development models itself, if I go to a website and make a one-page note on development models and think if a question comes in civils on development model, I'll have this ready reckoner with me and I will write all the things that I read there. But that does not work anymore, because the questions that civils UPSC asks are very convoluted. They are not very straightforward questions. They will not ask you what is a development model. They will associate some kind of a theory and ask you on this development model. So you need to have a presence of mind then and there to like answer that question. So I stopped making all these one-page notes for mains, because I realized that is just limiting my knowledge. Because if I see a developmental model question, I'm not thinking about the question. I'm just thinking about the one-page note that I made, and I want to write those things. I'm not like forcing my brain to think then and there, how can I answer this question? So that is also something that I did in my second attempt. I tried to break all the molds that I had accepted while preparing for the first time. I need to follow a particular structure of answer writing. I need to create one-page notes for everything. Now, there's a caveat. Everybody should follow what works for them. This I did, it worked for me. I'm not saying that it will work for everybody. You just see what works for you, try it out. If you think strategy or my way of functioning or my way of studying the subject had some merit in it, then go for it. But I'm not saying this is how it works. There's no set formula as to how anything works. This is just what I did.
Right, sir. So did you like practice answer writing, and then did you follow a particular method for answer writing? So how can someone practice their answer writing?
So before the first attempt, what I did was when I realized I have this extra 2 months because of COVID when the exam got extended. So what I did before that, I had not done any answer writing practices. When I realized I have 2 extra months, so every day what I would, so this I recommend to everybody to do. If you're just starting answer writing practice, on a lot of websites like Vision and Insights, they have their toppers answer copies. So what you can do is you can take out a question, you can download that answer copy, take a question that they have, write it on a piece of paper, and set a timer for 7.5 minutes, and try to write that answer by yourself within those 7.5 minutes. If it is a 10-mark question, and if it is a 15-mark question, just try to write it in within 9 minutes. And then you have a topper's answer copy to check what they wrote in their answer and what you wrote in your answer. So you have like a reference point. Oh, I could have added this. This is a good example that I can add to my answer. So once you start doing that, you start getting better at it. And always remember, the first answer that you will write will be the worst answer you will ever write. But as you keep writing it, you'll keep improving. You will never write you will never start well. That's the solution. That's the answer. The first answer will always be the most painful answer to write. You will be like sitting thinking, kaise karna hai, kya karna hai? But just do it. Do it once, do it twice. And every day do 2-3 questions like this, and keep on like checking कि क्या मैं improve कर रहा हूँ, क्या नहीं कर रहा हूँ, what else I can do to improve. And that's how you can do it better. And I don't think you should go for like a full length mock test before you actually clear prelims. After you clear prelims, then you can take mock tests and like sit down in those 3 hours and write. But in the initial phase of it, your focus should be on trying to write the answer within the allotted time limit. That is 7.5 minutes. You write the answer, 9 minutes to write the answer. And the timer stops, you stop. Don't say, okay, oh, I'll write it, finish it in 10 seconds, because in the actual exam, you don't have the time. So you need to like train your hands and your mind to like think of an answer within 7.5 minutes and write 150 words and 250 words.
Got it, sir. Sir, what was your strategy regarding picking your optional subject? Because you're a law student, so did you take law as your optional subject? Why or why not? Because obviously law is a very vast and dynamic subject, and there are other options such as anthropology or geography where they are considered to be more scoring. So what was your strategy regarding picking an optional?
I mean, I don't think there was any strategy associated with, like, I think it was always given for me that I'll take law because I was interested in law. I won't say that I did civil services because I was not interested in law. I was always very interested in law. I liked constitutional law. I had a fascination for international law and all of those things. So I enjoyed reading those stuff. Then before preparing, when I used to go through the question papers and syllabus, I saw the question paper and UPSC and I was like, yaar, ye law ke sawal to matlab hum college mein to kar hi chuke hain. Like, it feels like something that we have already done. Why take an effort to study something completely new when there is already law for me? It is true that law is not very scoring. It is like there's not a lot of materials for it. But if I am somebody who does not hate law, who does not have a problem with law as a law person, then I should recommend you should go for law. That's how I decided, because for me I did not think about anthropology or political science because I was like कि effort कहाँ पे कम कर सकता हूँ मैं. The effort यहाँ पे कम हो सकता है because I can like go back to my notes, my own notes that was there. There's like most of the case laws you have already studied. You just have to go through it once and try to answer it in another manner that is suitable for UPSC. But you don't have to at least start from scratch, because if you go for sociology, anthropology, you are starting from A. You're just like A, B, C, D पढ़ना पड़ रहा है anthropology का, sociology का. So that becomes further difficult. So for me, it was like law makes sense for me.
Right. So in relation to this, how do you think a law student can leverage their legal background while preparing for this examination? And does law complement certain part of the general studies syllabus?
Yeah, it does. I mean, like the GS2, if you see, a major part of general studies 2 paper is polity, and it involves a lot of stuff that you are already studying in law school and that you will study for law optional as well. For example, all the provisions of constitutional law, be it the emergency, or the fundamental rights, or DPSPs, or the organization of like the structures of the president, the prime minister's office, and all of those things. You have already studied in law school. You have already studied in third semester, fourth semester, constitutional law, Consti 1, Consti 2.
Right.
And and if you're interested and you take in-depth study for that. So
Right.
that GS2 law subject, but the caveat is when you're writing a GS2 answer and when you're writing a completely different part, because when you're writing a GS2 answer, you're writing for a generalist observer, you're not writing for a lawyer to read. But when you're writing a law optional answer, you're writing a specialized answer particularly for a law student, as a law student. So that you have to keep in mind.
Right, sir. Sir, there are multiple sources for current affairs. What did you rely on when it comes to coaching materials? Did you prefer self-studies through newspapers, or what other approach would you recommend to students for general study, current affairs?
So current affairs, so newspaper is a must. I did newspaper like since the day I started preparing till today. I read newspapers. I mean, like, newspaper is a must. You have to read every day. You will see a lot of people coming and telling you, or not a lot of people, but you will yourself start thinking, ki, what is the value addition for a newspaper to me? I can just read this through Coaching Institute ke daily current affairs or like monthly current affairs. But reading newspaper creates a good habit, and like there are a lot of inherent benefits which you will realize later. But read newspaper every day. Apart from that, what I used to do was daily I used to do current affairs for half an hour. So there are a lot of coaching institutes who publish daily current affairs on their websites. For example, if it's Vision or it's... Am I speaking too fast?
No, sir. You're fine.
So daily current affairs I used to do from Vision IAS or Insights IAS. That it doesn't take more than 15-20 minutes. But I did not make any notes. And at the end of the month, Vision used to publish their current affairs ka magazine, the entire month ka magazine. So what my daily schedule used to be, I will do the newspaper in the morning. In the evening, half an hour I'll do daily current affairs, and the next 1 hour I'll try to revise previous month's current affairs. So while I'm doing, suppose currently it's February, if I'm doing February 14th or 13th ka current affairs today, I'm simultaneously revising September 2024 ka current affairs also, the magazine I'm revising. So I'll just keep on doing it so that I don't lose track of current affairs. So if I'm taking out 2 hours for my day for current affairs, 1 hour is newspaper, 15-20 minutes of daily current affairs, and the remaining time is to do the previous month's current affairs and keep on doing it in a cycle. So September, October, November, December, January. If the February hasn't come out, then go back to March, April, May, June, July, and like keep on doing it.
Right, sir. So then we wanted to get an understanding about what you used for coaching and the other resources that you used during your preparation. So did you enroll in any coaching program, and do you think that coaching gives a significant edge over self-studying?
It doesn't. I did not go for any coaching. My 2 years, like 2 attempts, I did not go for any coaching. But during the mains, I bought coaching ka mock tests. But I don't think that is going for coaching classes. I never went for coaching classes. I used to live in my home in Sundargarh, in Odisha, and I used to study at home. So don't believe ki without coaching you can't clear. It's stupid. Coaching, like, for some people it might help. It might give them a structured guidance. I thought for me attending classes is like a big pain in the ass, because if somebody comes and tells me to do this, that is the last thing that I will do. Until and unless I decide myself, oh, this makes sense to me. I prepared my own schedule, and I used to constantly check whether I'm improving or not, and whether this thing is working out or not. So I did not think for me coaching made sense. But for a lot of people it can, because if they want somebody to tell them as to how to go about things and all of those things, they can do it.
Right, sir. So what were the books that you use, and like what were the resources that you relied on? For example, if someone's starting from scratch, what books and resources would you recommend before diving into a full-fledged preparation?
Basic books I'll tell. For modern history, there's like this spectrum. For geography, I did 11th and 12th NCRT, only NCRTs. And sometimes I used to augment my resources, for example, if it's wildlife, national parks and all those things, from PMFIS. There is this website called PMFIS. They have their own book now also. For environment, I started with Shankar IAS, but then I realized it doesn't make any sense to me. Then I went to PMFIS and then it worked. Economy, I did Sriram IAS. They have this note. At my time there used to be notes, but now I think they have made it into a book as well. So economics for Sriram IAS. For ancient history, what I did was there's this 11th and 12th Tamil Nadu NCRT on ancient history, which I referred. I mean, I don't know if it is still available or not, but and ancient history, because while studying ancient history, I was very interested in it. So while I was studying ancient history, I would also go on Google. For example, if I'm reading about Chandragupta Maurya, then I'll just Google Chandragupta Maurya and I'll just read about him. And if I find any other information that I think is valuable, then I'll just add it to my notes. So I did not just rely there, but I just also created my own notes on ancient and medieval history. So polity Lakshmikant, no doubt about it. Polity, economy, environment, science and tech, I did not do anything. I just referred to current affairs. And art and culture, there was what I referred to was there was this Balyan IAS current affairs, art and culture notes, Nitin Singhania's art and culture book, and I think class 11th fine arts book. Yeah, that was like more or less of it. I mean, this is like the basic books that I referred. I mean, once you go for law optional and all, law optional, I went to Dukki. You will know what is Dukki. You just rely there. Don't try to go deep into VD Mahajan or MP Singh. For UPSC, for law school, please go. But for UPSC, don't rely there. It's not.
So I think most of us rely on Dukkis in law school also. But
so for UPSC, you should not rely on MP Singh or VD Mahajan. It's like time consuming. You don't have the time. It's all about maximum output with minimal effort or input. Yeah.
Right, sir. So these were the questions on preparation and strategy. Now we want to delve into the actual IFS experience and whatever insights that you've gained throughout your career so far. So how has the entire experience been, if you could describe it? What were some of the key highlights after you joined the services and the training? If you could share anything on that.
I mean, it's been only 2.5 years since I got into this. So the first 3 months were in Labasna, in Mussoorie. So that's like, I'm sure everybody knows, like all the service people come there, IAS, IPS, IFS. So those 3 months were great. I mean, it actually teaches you a lot. We did Himalayan trek and all of those things. After that 6 months, I was in Delhi doing the classroom training in Delhi. And since then, I'm in Taipei. I'm right now in Taiwan studying Chinese. So after you join foreign service, you have to select a compulsory foreign language, which you have to study in that particular country. So I chose Chinese, and right now I'm in Taipei. So one highlight I can say is that after 2.5 years, I can start to barely speak Chinese also. So yeah, that has been the highlight. I mean, like, good value addition to my own life. But otherwise, the experience. Also we got to be part of the G20 preparation. So we were actively involved in, we were involved in G20. So that was also a good experience, seeing like all these leaders for the first time in front of your eyes, and it was like, I should not say this, but it was like HNMCC or Colossus OC level just extended to like grand scale. Suddenly it's like expanded to a big scale.
Yeah, I think this would put a lot of things into perspective for all the HNLU students watching this.
Yeah, so it's like HNMCC or everybody wants to be in the OC. So it's like that, just like expanded to a great level.
Yeah, and nothing has changed since then.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yes, sir. Sir, do you think your legal education has helped your role as an IFS officer? If yes, then how so?
Yeah, the problem with me with these questions is it's been only 2.5 years. I have not like started doing any substantial foreign policy or foreign like those kind of work. But I'm sure there's like a lot of avenues for for law students, because you have a lot of these organizations. For example, you have ICJ, you have ICC, you have WTO. Uh, you have in the MEA itself, there is a legal and treaties division where your legal knowledge comes to use a lot. And if you have a legal background, then you might be preferred over others when you are being asked to go to IC like Hague as a posting where you have to deal with ICJ, ICC kind of work, and WTO. So like lost legal education has a great scope in this, and also like you get into a lot of these agreements and treaties. Whenever you are in a country, you try to come up with an agreement, be it a economic agreement or like a cultural agreement or a cooperation agreement. So if you're a lawyer, you better understand what are the nuances that you need to be aware of when you're reading an agreement. What are the loopholes that a common person might ignore, which you read and you're like, this can be a problem and all those things. I'm not saying I have done any of this right now, but like as I have heard and as I have experienced about, it's something that's very particular to law students or legal graduates.
Right. So, what are some of the lesser known aspects that you've sort of understood as of by now about this career that people usually don't talk about? And this could include both positive or negative sides of the perspective. But what are things that you would want people to know when they're going into this career?
I mean, a significant part of your career you will stay abroad. You will regularly keep moving. So like every 3 years you'll move to a new place. You'll come back to Delhi. You'll go to a new place, and all of those. It will keep happening. If sometimes you stay away from your family so far away that it's like not even feasible to think I can go home. If somebody's in South America, then it takes like 2 days, 1.5 days of just travel to reach their home. So all of those things are there, and then we all think that IFS officers do all this foreign policy, international relations, but also we organize Diwali events, we organize Holi events, we organize Yoga Day, and all of those things. So community engagement is also a very important part of it, which nobody talks about. Like that is also very important because you are the link to the Indian community in a particular country. So you have to consular matters is a big part of it, visa issues, passport issues, and all of those things. So IFS is not just about foreign policy, international relations. It's also a lot about community engagement, community diaspora, and then there are negative aspects of it. Like if you are not used to Asian food, then it takes some time to getting used to Chinese food. And if you are not non-vegetarian, if you are pure vegetarian, then takes you some more time to get used to the food culture in different places. You might be sent to a completely new society, completely new place, which you are not even imagined. It's not like everybody is sent to Europe, everybody is sent to America. People go to some places where they do not prefer to go. But you have to go there, you have to do the job. At the end of the day, it's all about doing your job. You come into the service and you realize that wherever you are sent, you have to do your job. It's as simple as that. So there are positive aspects of it, but at the same time, there are some things which are like not discussed much, but are a very significant part of this career.
So you mentioned that sometimes it gets very difficult to travel back home. So how do you handle homesickness while serving in these foreign postings, and how has the experience been for you?
Yeah, I mean, it gets lonely at times, like you feel homesick, but you create a community around you who support you. So since like I'm in Taipei, we are like a couple of us who are learning Chinese here. So you create a community where you hang out with them. In case you actually want to go home, it's not very difficult to go home also. Like if you really want to go home, the office won't say no to you. You can go home, and you constantly. So the solution is to constantly be in touch with your family members. Like talk to them once a day, and like never feel that I'm not talked to them for like quite some time, and like don't let that feeling creep in but when Diwali comes and all of those things, it hits you a little bit कि यार सब घर जा रहे हैं, सबके Instagram की stories देख रहे हैं, सब बढ़िया है, सब कर रहे हैं, and you're sitting here खुद खाना बना रहे हो and all of those things. But yeah, there are good part of it, and then there are some not so good part of it as well.
Right, so thank you. So lastly, we want to come to our last section of our interview, and we want to understand what advice you have for aspirants. So many UPSC aspirants experience self-doubt and intense pressure while they're preparing. How do you manage your mental resilience in these moments during uncertain times?
Uh, no. I won't say that you won't have any kind of like a self doubt or but you won't feel mental pressure. Mental pressure is a big part of civil services preparation because once you get a sense of how many people are preparing for this exam and how like the few seats that are there, suddenly it dawns upon you like, oh, it is quite daunting. It is quite challenging. But just like trust in yourself, but more than that, trust in your preparation. If you are being true to yourself with respect to the preparation, and if you are like constantly checking yourself, constantly analyzing yourself whether you are making any improvement or not, just trust your preparation. Things fall out, things will fall into the place. And I mean, like, this is sort of a controversial idea. Like, the harder you work, the luckier you get. It's like that. Just keep working hard, and things will fall into place. And have a good community of people around you who support you and who are there to listen to your uh, like times when you need somebody to be there. Be it your friends, be it your like close friends or your parents and all. Just like surround yourself with positive people. And I won't suggest going to like again from my experience. Don't go to Delhi. It feels thoda sa depressing. It's better you stay at home, prepare, stay around people who can support you, who can be there when you need to talk to somebody and all of those things. Yeah. So you need to create a community around you. You need to trust in your preparation. You need to constantly check in on yourself. I also like keep a track of how you're doing. Uh, yeah, it gets daunting.
Right, so so the entire journey of the UPSC preparation often means missing out on social experiences, especially in college life, because I think one of the most important things in the memories that you make in college are these little events that we have during our
Yeah.
time on campus. So, was it difficult for you to miss out on these experiences? And do you think the sacrifice is worth it at the end of the day?
I'll answer the last part first. The sacrifice was definitely worth the it was worth sacrificing all those things. I will say like I won't say I completely missed out on all the social life that was there in my fifth year and after that. They were like, but I took some decisions which then felt very cruel at that time. But now when I look back upon it, it just makes sense that thank God I took those decisions. If your friends are going for some like a week long holiday and you say, you know, I have like this thing to cover, it will hurt you then. Like everybody is going, but you're not going. But like maybe later on it will pay off. But it's not like you completely ignore all your friends and you shut yourself down in a room and just keep preparing. You won't be able to do it. At every part of the preparation, you have to be logical. You're like you hang out with your friends, but hang out with your friends in a manner where they also recognize the importance of and you also recognize the importance of your time. I mean, I was thankful that I was surrounded by people who knew what this preparation entails. And so, whenever we used to hang out for like half an hour, 45 minutes, and then go back to the study table. But don't be like, oh, I don't want to hang out with anybody. That's just not going to work out because you burn yourself out. So, you need to have some avenue to release the stress that you are having. But again, when the time to take decisions come, you need to have the mental resolve to say no to your friends also. Sometimes it can get difficult to say no to your friends, but sometimes you have to say no for the sake of preparation, the what you think, what you prioritize, and where your priorities lie. Yeah.
Right, so the next question is a question that we ask everyone who comes up for these episodes, and that is, if you could go back and give one piece of advice to your younger self in law school, what would that be?
Yeah, don't try to be anybody else you're not. just try to be yourself. Like, try to identify, try, don't get bogged down when you see people around you who are way smarter than you are or better than you are in some things, and feel like feel like you are not worth anything. Take that as a positive sign. Take them as like source of learning for you. Everybody knows something that you don't know, and just learn from them. Try to be as good as them, but don't feel ki, oh, you're not worth it. You have your own individual self. Try to be true to yourself. Don't try to be somebody you are not, because it won't work out. Yeah. That's
Thank you,
what
sir.
I tell.
I think that's a very important thing that we should try to remember, but we keep forgetting in the midst
Yeah.
of college. So, lastly, for law students considering the civil services, what would be your biggest takeaway from this journey that you'd like to share with them?
It's a life changing. I mean, like, now I'm thinking like it changes your personality, and it makes you more aware about things. Like, I understand being aware about things because you read a lot of things, but once you get deep down into the preparation where you're like, oh, I have to clear this, and like you sacrifice a lot of things, it changes you as a person as well. I think so. I mean, like, what I have heard from people is that it changes you as a person, because you realize the importance of your own time. You realize the importance of your own resources in the sense your time and your mental capacity and all of those things, and you start prioritizing that also. That becomes very important. So it changes you as a person also. It makes you stronger in terms of your mental resolve. I think so. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't think I'm the right person to say. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's my takeaway from this entire preparation. It's a tough preparation, but yeah, one more thing. Best advice that I should give to everybody who's preparing. It's a tough exam, but it's not something that can't be cleared. If I can clear it, anybody can. I'm telling you, please don't think I was not like a great achiever in college also. I was like very normal and all those things. And if I can clear it, it can be cleared. Once you prepare for it, it feels like it can't be cleared. Nobody's clearing this. Who's clearing it? But it can be. It can be done. While I used to prepare, I used to think that every topper who cleared it has this one particular book which they're not telling anybody, and which those books and they clear it. There's nothing like that. It's all about like, give it some time, give it the time it requires, do your best, and things will work out.
Right, sir. So, thank you so much. We've gone through all of our questions, and I think your answers were more than what we wanted to hear. They were very insightful, and I think hearing through your journey as someone who's also going through and living through the same corridors, classrooms, sitting in the same classrooms as you have, I think it'll be really inspirational for a lot of people listening to this interview. Your answers are very insightful. Thank you so much for giving us your time. I know you must have a busy schedule, but thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was really good, really great to like connect with you guys all, and like, I hope my answers answered the questions and were not like very way wide and all those things. But yeah, thank you so much for inviting me again.